And we will start with Ulla Burchardt. The floor is yours, Ulla. Ulla is, Ulla, I'm sorry, I have to use the word. She is a darling of TA, and she is the former chairman of the research committee in the Bundestag, just stopped in before the last election, and is still working with TA. Ulla, the floor is yours.
Some people say I'm the bitch of TA. So I want to make 3 points on the background of really a long experience with a TA unit close to the Parliament. It's not the time now to explain more of it, but I have a different opinion concerning a successful model of parliamentary TA than I heard in this afternoon. But I can offer you to give you more information about our model after this unit. So I want to make 3 points. One, to have a look back, because I'm convinced that we only can talk about future when we know where we started. The second, give you 2 remarks on my opinion concerning the PASITA process. Third, as Lars asked me to do, to give some conclusions and wishes concerning the following process. So to the past, between yesterday mentioned, between 2006 and 2009, MPs with TA practice met several times to share their experiences on the occasion of the annual APTA meetings and invitations, e.g. of the committees in Paris and Berlin. We invited our colleagues to share our experiences with TA. And we all were convinced of the benefits of TA, and with a view to the enlargement of the Union, the concern was to win over colleagues in another state to the concept of known independent scientific policy advice and to support them in the implementation. And the milestone was the Paris Declaration of 2008 with Mr. Barrot, who was just mentioned. And in this declaration, we, the members of parliament, we specified 5 necessities we need. First, regular direct exchange with own agendas for the parliamentarians. Second, a platform or a coordination unit to organize this. Third, a handbook, a so-called cookbook, that provides an overview of the different institutional designs and conditions in the individual countries. Fourth, in order to move forward, additional financial and human resources are required. And fourth, in the EU Commission shall be the appropriate institution because the Commission has the means to finance such activities, as we've seen. I think one circumstance was crucial for the success of this initiative, because it was the initiative for PASITA. Lars knows more, as he wrote me. The fact that there was a personal continuity, because the same MPs met several times, we created a real dialogue. And I think that's really crucial for a common process. And because it's a political truism, drivers of any kind of changes are not abstract institutions or structures, but that are always real people in politics as in everyday life. And we can learn from this. We can learn this from the experience of the decline of the OTA. It was mentioned, the American mother of OTA institutions. It decayed not only for having too many opponents, but also not to have enough supporters, and I think that was the experience the Danish colleagues made too. The question was, what has PASITA achieved and what would be the next step? I think, until now, PASITA provides an impressive comparative and systematic overview and insight to the different national characteristics. And we have to thank you very much, all the professionals, to give us this, e.g. the role of science, political system, R&D governance, culture or public debate, and especially the TA arrangements. However, in my opinion, there is a blind spot. The working conditions of the parliaments, and in particular of the members of the parliaments and their basic needs. Why is this key? They are the addressees and users of parliamentary TA, therefore they must not have only information, knowledge about TA, they must be convinced of the need and benefit, the advantage for themselves, for their work and for their political responsibility as elected decision makers. This requires a permanent communication strategy to make them feel concerned, feel they are being taken seriously and not overwhelmed, for example, by an agenda, by a very rigid time schedule. To develop this strategy, you need to know more about the specific working conditions. And in my experience, these are very different in the individual countries and the parliaments. Even in the parliaments with TA practice, TA is no integral part of policy making, but always an additional task for the responsible MPs, without them receiving any recognition or brownie points for the next election. They are working hard, 60 hours a week, without TA, and we want them to do TA additional, and we have to have an eye on this. And so, what should be the next steps of PASITA? First, I think we have to have a look back and to ask which lessons are learned. And the question is broader than Leonard Henn put it yesterday. I think we have to discuss what have the scientists learned, the TA professionals, what have the MPs learned, and who else has learned something about the process until now. The second point, enhancement and capacity building for members of parliament, which also requires a solid knowledge base. But this cannot be gained mainly from the perspective of scientists. It's a fact that there are two cultures, the scientists on one side and the politicians on the other side. They talk in different languages, they have different time scales, and so on. I think you know what I mean. And it's very important to bridge the gap between two cultures. And it's not done with one act and with one action. It must be a continuous process. It's a learning process, as we found out in Germany. And what to do further, I think, as with PTA projects, the further question and steps should be developed together with the scientists and with the MPs to bridge the gap between the two cultures. And I think it's crucial to reach the goal of reinforcing the existing PTA models and to expand more to those countries who have not still a TA unit. And concerning the question of the network, the Portuguese colleague mentioned this morning, I think it's very necessary, and I suggest that each parliament and the parliamentarians here try to have an idea if they can invite members of other parliaments to come to their capital and to talk about the experiences. There's nothing good than you do it by yourselves. Thank you.